Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, Rangers. It's me, Jackie Kashian. Welcome to the Dork Forest. It's 2024. Let's do this. Here's the credits, of course. Mike Ruekberg sang that song at the beginning, and he wrote that song, and he sang it with Sarah Cohen, his wife, and he will sing the Mexican hat dance at the end of the program. Also, Patrick Brady, still putting this together. Video, audio, all of it. He's amazing. So, and Vilmos doing JackieKashianStore.com. Squarespace is doing the regular Jackie Kashian page, and I'm thinking of moving the Dork Forest and dorkforest.com away from WordPress because it's driving me nuts. But those are the credits. But if you go to JackieKashian.com, you can get Dork Forest merch. You can get my stand-up merch. You can get my stand-up CDs and DVDs, which you'd have to have devices for those. You can also see videos and find out any number of things. I have another podcast called The Jackie and Laurie Show, but the Dork Forest is the flagship. 18th year. We're doing it, you guys. You can go to my Bandcamp or my YouTube for extra content. Please donate, is what I'm saying. It's 2024, and I think we've been in this long enough. Why don't you guys, everybody send me $100? That's what I'd like you to do. You can PayPal me. There's links all over the pages. You can Venmo me at Jackie Kashian. You can find me at a stand-up show and hand me a sweaty wad of 20s. Do something. But I love doing the show. I would love to make some money, is what I'd like to do. In other news, I'm sure there's more things that I should talk about, but I can't think of them. But let's listen to who's going to dork out about something, because that's my favorite part. Thanks for listening, you guys. You're all great. Let's get into the show. It's me, Jackie Kashian, coming in hot with an episode of The Dork Forest. And I say that because it's 101 degrees in Los Angeles right now. Anyway, with me, I'm in my garage. He is in his home. Chris McGuire, longtime friend, period. Friend of the show, probably. But how you doing, Chris?
I'm good. And I've known you a really long time. It's been a long time. Yeah. How long have you been in LA?
I believe it'll be 27 years.
Yeah.
The longest I've ever lived anywhere. Longer than I've lived in Wisconsin, for
26, sure. 26 for me.
Yeah, I think 26 or 27. What was it? When did I get my DUI? 97, 98. I think I moved in 97.
That's hilarious.
So,
yeah, we moved here in 98. So, okay. And so I probably met you
at 97. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably met you at one of Vance's shows.
Vance Sanders.
Yeah.
I was, I've tried to do a Christmas episode of the Dork Forest with him a couple of times, and it's never worked.
How is that? Well, that's because he's so busy around Christmas.
No, we've done the hour. There's nothing I can do with it. He won't talk about Christmas. I should literally just film his house at Christmas for an hour.
You should do like a Facebook Live or something.
Right. I may do it. Maybe that'll be the Dork Forest Christmas episode live for the non-existent Patreons. I don't have a Patreon. I do have a donation button, which I believe everyone is familiar with because I asked, I'm in the new intro that I did this year. I was like, everyone, give me $100, especially if you've been listening forever and have never given me $100.
That's hilarious.
And several people have given me $100. And you know what that means? I have $100 more. So thank you very much, Rangers of the Dork Forest. Chris McGuire, stand-up comic, TV writer, and now doing whatever you'll let him do in the writing and performing area. Is that correct?
Very true. Yes.
Have I summed that up?
I am a television writer, producer, and I am available for work.
That's it. He's available. It's at Chris 8675309 on Instagram. Probably because you thought it was funny.
It was an old joke. It was an old joke about picking your other people did it after I was very early on the internet humor. Like before people knew about, like I had material like, why do we need email? I mean, that's how early like I was in on it. And I had one about picking a screen name, and it was like Chris taken, Chris 1 taken. So
oh, there you go.
Chris 8675309. Yeah,
that's it.
Old joke.
That's a song.
Joke.
It's a
Yes.
musical joke, you guys. I get it. I don't get a lot of musical jokes, but there's one I get. You are partnered with someone who's been on this program at least 3 times. The wildly talented and hilarious Tess Rafferty.
Yes.
And she also, the first time she was on, talked about what you're going to talk about. Now we're going to get the other side, you guys. I love multiple people on the same topic.
We will bore anyone with extremely detailed accounts of the country of Italy. Whenever anyone goes, hey, you guys seem to go a lot. Can I, can we get a few suggestions?
Tips?
Yeah. And then they're on the phone for 3 hours. We won't let them go. We're like, hold on a second. I'm locking the door.
One more.
Wait, I've got a meat slicer here. I'm doing prosciutto, the whole thing. You can't leave before we serve the gnocchi.
Right. So when was the first time you went to Italy?
The first time I went with
you
Tess.
Alone. Yes.
With Tess was
you had never been.
I had never been. She had been once before, I think, when like college or something.
Right.
I went with her in 2008 was the first time. We went in the winter, which is not the greatest time to go, but actually any time is great. But like it was March, and we went to Rome, and we stayed at the time my boss's house. Robert Morton had a house in Tuscany.
Oh wow!
And so we stayed.
That's right outside of. Is that outside of Florence? I thought that was outside of Florence.
Tuscany. Florence is in Tuscany. It's a region. It's one of the regions, and it's like you've got Lazio is the region where Rome is, and so about an hour away from Rome is the region of Tuscany. I don't know if it's a province or a region, but Siena, Florence are the 2 big cities in Tuscany.
Right. Huh. There are 20 regions of Italy.
I bet I can name most of them.
Well, you could totally name them because for some reason this isn't. You know what? I think that's just the name of this company.
20 regions in Italy.
Yeah. But
that sounds like
sort
a
of
lot.
like. But sort of like states or provinces.
They're like states.
Are the regions of Italy.
Yes,
and
they're the region. And Tuscany is the one that's well known for wine. It has excellent wine.
And making movies, right?
Lots of it's Under the Tuscan Sun.
Yeah.
There are a lot of extremely charming medieval hill towns in Tuscany, and that's sort of the attraction. You go, you stay on a farm, or you stay in a medieval hill town, and the food is very good, and the wine is exceptional.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that sounds great. So, as always, I need to know: is there a Hilton property possibly that I could also stay at? Do I have to stay at somebody's farmhouse?
I would bet there is. There must be. There has to be something in Florence or Siena.
Right. We stayed at bed and breakfasts in both Venice and Florence. I've been to Italy twice. Once for my honeymoon. We saved up. We went to Venice and then Florence.
Yep.
And then previously I went as an idiot child right after college where I was just drunk and didn't even have a let's go. And every morning in the youth hostel, I would look around and go, what are you guys going to go do? And they say, well, we're going to go look at the David. And I'm like, what is that? And then I followed them, and then I got to see the David.
Yeah.
So
this was when you were an idiot child.
Yeah, I was right out of college, 21.
Yeah. Florence, which is not it's gorgeous, and everybody wants to go. It's gorgeous. It has 2 of the best museums like ever. If you're into Renaissance art and rocky penises, it's the place to go. Right? Yes. The Uffizi is the one with the Michelangelos and the Raphael, the Birth of Venus, Venus in the clamshell.
Yeah.
That is at the Uffizi, and it's a much bigger painting than you would ever expect. It's gigantic.
Oh.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's really gorgeous. And then there's a bunch of Michelangelos, and then I have never been to the Accademia, which is where the David is. But from what I understand, that's the big attraction there is the David.
And it's also taller than you would think as well.
As
opposed to the Mona Lisa, which is smaller.
The Mona Lisa is small, right?
Right, 11 by 17. It feels like I could have printed it. And
No, the Renaissance guys, Italian painters liked big canvases. I think that's why they were so popular with churches and stuff, because they paint big. You know what I mean? They paint
and churches have those vaulted, it's so big inside a church. You got to be able to see Jesus from the 60th pew. You know
exactly.
So that's amazing. So so the first time you went to Tuscany. You stayed.
We stayed in Tuscany, which was not a famous. It was near a town called. Oh shoot! I'm spacing on the name of the town. It has a beautiful church, but they all do. Anyway, it wasn't in a major town. It was about, I think, 45 minutes from Siena or something like that. About 45 minutes from Florence. It was kind of in the middle, but it was gorgeous. It was it was a nice little town, and
that's kind of an amazing introduction.
It was great. No, I mean, it was an old. It was an old stone building. It was like it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. Right. It was extremely cold, and
I was going to say it sounds chilly.
Yeah, it was extremely cold, but have these beautiful fireplaces. Again, very medieval. You would have loved it because it's very like Dungeons and Dragons. You know what I mean? Like big mantles and the whole deal. Yeah, and really really fun and deep fireplaces and stuff like that. It was lovely. It was a nice introduction because it was in the we kind of like to do like we've been there a lot, so we kind of like to do off the beaten track. So this was a great way to be like, oh, you go off the beaten track and it's still awesome, and that's kind of what informed our trips after that.
Right. So when you say off the beaten track, you're like, so you're in a small village essentially in Italy.
Yes.
And do you have a car? Did you rent a car?
Yeah, we always rent a car in Italy. A few times, no, but rare, because the driving is easy compared to other European places. Like, for example, I've been to Ireland. I was very stressed out in Ireland. Yeah. It's left side of the road, and we were in the country in Ireland. So, you go around those. You've been there, right? You go around the brambles and stuff like that. You don't see the other cars coming.
I made Andy drive the whole thing, and he scratched up the entire left side of the car. And we had bought like extra insurance, and they still said, you're still going to have to give us another €200.
Yeah,
because this is a mess.
Italy and Ireland are two of the only cities in Europe where they won't take American insurance. They do local insurance, and it's a scam. It's a scam.
Oh, of course, as is American insurance. Yeah. But we're already paying for it, so you'd think, oh, well, I could just use it. And you're like, no, all insurance is literally. It's exactly like the guy who comes to your house and said, "It'd be a real shame something happened in this place," and that's what insurance is.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I just think you figure you show up with an American Express card, they're like, "Oh, don't get insurance because we'll cover this or whatever," and they will not take it in Ireland or Italy. So in Italy for driving, I think other than in the cities, Rome is insane. You do not. The only way you want to get the hell out. And you don't want to drive around the city. There's no place to park, and people are maniacs, and the roads are 2,000 years old or more. So they
invented the roundabout, I think.
Yes, and they have roundabouts, and you better be. I'm from. I lived in New England for a long time, so I'm familiar with roundabouts. But once you get out, it's easy. Okay. It's really easy. The roads are pretty good. The shoulders aren't super wide. It's a little stressful.
And
people drive fast.
You try to get a little car though, right?
Oh yeah, I mean just for the money also, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you get a little car, they usually upgrade you something medium sized and it's fine. Gas is expensive,
Sure. And do you is it a stick or is it can you get an automatic? I don't mind a stick.
I had a stick forever and then I've had an automatic forever now. So I think they default to automatic. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, at least they don't default to stick. If you don't know how to drive a stick, it's kind of, it'd be really
exactly.
hard.
So like Tess will drive sometimes too, and she doesn't know how to do stick. So we kind of have to get an automatic, and it's fine.
Right.
The cars are fine, and they're we found a good rental
And then
place.
you can go wherever you want.
You go wherever you want. See, that's the great thing. Like if you go, like I would tell everybody, if you're going to Tuscany, definitely rent a car. Because otherwise you're going to be landlocked. You're going to be locked in Florence. You're going to be locked in Siena, and that's it. And you're going to miss out the best part of being in Tuscany, which is going to these tiny little hill towns. They're adorable, and they all have a church, and they all have like a wine place. And they have a good restaurant, and they're fun to go to. They're just fun to go to.
Because it's a beautiful countryside, right?
It's gorgeous.
I assume?
It's like being inside a painting, is what I tell people.
I've only taken a train through Italy, and then I've flown in and then been trapped in a city.
And the trains are great, by the way. If you're doing something like you want to get down the Amalfi Coast and you know you're going to kind of stay where it is, and then there's boats, then you don't need a car. But take the train down from Rome and it's easy. But Tuscany is a great place to have a car. And so is the area north of Tuscany is called Emilia Romagna. That's where Bologna, Parma, those places. That's a great place to have a car.
Oh, wow. Can you get Bologna and Parma?
They literally mortadella. You've heard of mortadella, right?
Yes.
That's bologna, basically.
Yeah,
they're going to kill me
really
for saying
good.
that.
Right,
yeah,
but it's amazing
excellent.
bologna.
Yeah, it's
amazing bologna.
Yeah. There is I do have a photo on that, which is crazy. But they have Parmesan cheese, and then all the cured meats is the big thing there.
Is that place, the place north of Tuscany, is kind of the cured meat place?
Yes.
Or is all of Italy the cured meat place?
All of it is. You see that? See that big piece of bologna?
Yes, the wheel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the giant wheel of bologna. But that's mortadella. There's cured meat everywhere. There's wine everywhere. There's certain places that are really well known for certain things. Like Bologna, for example. I think somebody said this to me and I was like, I couldn't even comprehend it. They're like, oh, that's where the best food in Italy is. And I go, how is that possible? Like, how could it be better than Rome
the amazing food
or in Tuscany,
Right.
And we went, they're right. First of all, the one thing is you're going to have to get used to pork. They do a lot of pork, but that's where there's something like 25 major kinds of, pasta, and like 18 of them were invented in Bologna, and then that's where Parmesan's from, and then prosciutto and all that other stuff. But it's great, and it's also really nice. The wine isn't as good as Tuscany, but like the restaurants are just insanely good, and it's a really cool town. It's really cool. It's the oldest university in Europe.
Is in Bologna.
Yes, older than the one in London.
Okay. The one,
Oxford.
Which is in
older
Oxford.
than them. It's older than them.
And it's older than the one in Paris? That's interesting, because I thought that Paris was the oldest, but
I could be wrong, but I believe I'm right, because it's the oldest university in Europe. And this is pretty dorky, but it was kind of cool. But you go to the university, they invented the autopsy. So like you go into the room where they used to teach
the first time
autopsies, and it's like the hospital bed or whatever you want to call it is like a marble table.
Yeah.
It probably had a lot of blood.
Did you break into song? Did you go, Quincy is a doctor? No, he's not a doctor. He's more of a policeman who cuts people up. That is not the words to Quincy, but that is the tune.
I like the tune.
So that's amazing. So what do they don't, you don't get to sit in on an autopsy. It's the history of the autopsy. That's what you're going for, right?
Yeah. I'm sure they probably do lectures, like special lectures in there, but it's a very old room. It's that gorgeous, like you're like beautiful wood walls and stuff like that. It's just gorgeous.
So have you gone in every season to Italy?
No, we've been to winter a couple of times. We've been to summer a bunch.
Okay.
And the last time we went was the mid-September, which
that's autumn.
Now is my favorite time. That's my favorite time to go, because it's cheaper, less crowded, And if you still want to swim, you just go down south.
Okay.
And the water. Yeah, we went. The last time we went, Tess was like, well, I really want a beach vacation. Well, I'm like, it's September 15th. Let's see what we can do. And then I, did some research, and then they're like, yeah, it's real warm in Puglia right now. So we went down there, and that's
where's Puglia?
The heel of the boot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the heel of the boot.
Okay. So when we saved up and went to Italy for our honeymoon, my friend Stefan Zagrowitz, his mother is I believe from France, and she asked if we were going to the Amalfi Coast, and Andy had never been, so we were going to Venice for a week, and we were going to Florence for a week, and she said, Stefan said that his mother said, well, then they might as well not bother.
I disagree. I mean, we've been down there a couple of times, but we do, again, off the beaten track. So we'll go out to an island called Ischia, which is not Capri. It's not the fancy one. It's the one the Italians go to, and it's lovely. But the Amalfi Coast is it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous, but it's expensive. It's hard to get to, Oh,
is it?
Yeah, and the beaches are like, someone's going to kill me. They're fine. The Amalfi Coast, they're fine. They're way better beaches. Like, let me show you. Here's another one I got for you. This is like, if you go down to the south.
You get to be enthusiastic about your favorite beach in Italy. And it turns out most of my listeners are like, I have not been. So I've never been. Well, that looks like a hell of a beach.
It looks like, Fiji or something. And it's gorgeous.
It looks like a movie.
This is like, it looks like a movie. It's gorgeous. And then, where's the other? Oh, here. This is my other nerdy thing I do, is that I do the drone shots. So there's the overhead shot of that beach.
Do you bring a drone?
Yeah, I do.
Send it up and then GoPro yourself to some cool drone shots?
Yeah, I hope I don't get caught. Down there, they don't care.
Okay. Yeah, well, you just kind of want sort of the big bird's eye view, right?
Yeah, you've seen Tess's book. I do the, I've done a lot of, I think all but one is my photos. Like,
okay.
This is the one. This is another one of overhead. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's in Tuscany too, actually. That's the seaside in Tuscany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're beautiful beaches. But like, to be honest with you, everybody wants to go to the Amalfi Coast, and I always try to talk people out of it, and no one wants to be talked out of it. And so, I'm like, it's good. We did it. It's fun. I mean,
right.
Positano is like.
You could go like maybe the third time. Like, the thing is here's what I will say this, and I've told Tef this story. It's it's still true. When I went to Italy, I went when I was 20 or 21 years old, and we took the train to Rome, and then I was going to go to Naples because I had once read a book set in Naples, and they said it was pretty dirtbaggy in 1987.
Yeah,
but it was a little dodgy, right?
Yeah.
In 1987, but
it's still
but
still a little dodgy. They it's like New York City pre Giuliani,
Right. So, but I heard the pizza's amazing, and I kind of wanted to sort of be in that kind of I just wanted to see what, I'm always curious about whenever people say, "Oh, that's a bad part of town," or those people are this, or those people are that. I always want to go look at those people and go, no, they just look like people to me.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And I didn't know that that's what I always wanted to do, but I can date it from when I was 21 and I wanted to go to Naples. Have you been to Naples?
We have been through Naples on the way to like Sorrento, which is on the same peninsula as the Amalfi Coast, but we've never. Okay. It's always been something I've wanted to do. We just haven't gotten around to it. But
how many times have you been? Do you think?
I think
over 10.
Yeah, over 10. Yeah, 12 or 13.
Wow.
Yeah. And the but we for whatever reason we've never. I think Naples for 2 days would be super fun, and it's the further south you go, the more familiar it is as an American, because that's where everybody moved from, to America. So like you get to Sicily, they love Americans. They're like, oh, my cousin's in Philly, and I have a cousin in Boston, and
right.
Chicago, and all this stuff. So they love Americans because half of their family are over there. So like, Sicily, Puglia was friendly, but Sicily, I love Sicily. Sicily was like,
was super friendly.
It was crazy. It's like, it's just crazy. And I'm a nerd for volcanoes, and everywhere you go, there's freaking volcanoes,
Did you go to Pompeii?
We did. That's closer to, that's back towards Naples, but we did go to Pompeii, which I would highly recommend. It's you got to see it. I mean, it's one of the largest.
I've always wanted to see it. Yeah.
I think, I don't know, like I would imagine in Egypt or something like that, they probably have they have stuff that's way bigger in terms of archaeological digs and stuff, but it's pretty big. And only like 2/3 of it has been excavated. So
interesting.
It's a city. You like walk down their streets and it's cool. That's one of the things where it's like, it's really worth it. If you can swing a guide, that's the type of place you want a guide.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Because otherwise you're looking at like ruins. You know what I mean? Like this used to be a house,
I always, there's the joy of going to a small town and just sort of sitting in that small town and driving around and going to restaurants and going to wineries and going to different things and just sort of hanging out and kind of relaxing. And then there's also the joy of going on a tour and getting the information. We went, we went to Vietnam and Cambodia.
Oh, wow.
And went on what I call an idiot tour, because that's what I need. And it was 7 days in Vietnam with a guy from Vietnam who was in charge of the bus, and he brought us places. You didn't have to go every day. You didn't. And then he traded us off, tapped out, and gave us a Cambodian dude to do our Cambodian week. We did 9 days and 9 days. And then, and it was incredibly informative. And then he also brought us, it was a chance to, like, in every town, he would get an even more local guide.
Oh, that's crazy.
So for
you're
the
drilling
9 days,
deep. You're drilling down deep in the
and he would take us to like people he knew. They would make us a dinner, and that would be an extra $6.
Yeah, that's special.
And then and then the third day in, we asked if we could get a banh mi, and he just looked. He looked at me and he goes, I'm bringing you gourmet meals here at night. You want a $6 sandwich from the street? You want a 75-cent sandwich from the street? I was like, I don't stop with the gourmet meals, but yes, I would also like a sandwich.
Yeah.
And, but so, I would love a guide in Pompeii.
I think you would. I think you should, because otherwise you don't know where you're looking at. And in general, like, I'm lucky because, Tess speaks Italian. So,
oh my gosh,
we're very rarely isolated.
Lost?
Yeah. We don't get lost that often. And, honestly, since it's almost impossible to get lost anyway,
Yeah.
But we're always able to communicate. So we're very lucky. So other people, if they went to, like, for example, when we went to Puglia the last trip, which was 2 years ago, we went to this resort. It actually used to be a Club Med, and it has two of the most beautiful beaches, but it still has this post-Club Med vibe to it, and there's a lot of families and teenagers running around. And so it felt a little like Dirty Dancing, but only in Italy, you know what I mean? And so it was super fun, and the beaches were delightful, but there were literally two people. I mean, it's a big place. There were literally two people that spoke English. That's it.
Oh, okay.
In the whole place. And so that one,
that's very difficult, actually.
I understand, like, restaurant, Italian, so I can get by with a lot of that.
Right, to know that you kind of have to understand restaurant and hotel Italian, so that you can get food and you can find bathrooms.
Where's my car? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was funny because they looked at us and they were like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Because there was no American tourists; it was all Italian tourists, and it was this was 2 years ago. So somebody came up to me and said, in broken English, said, "I'm really sorry to hear about the Queen."
Oh, they thought
I was British. And then
Right,
someone
right.
else thought I was Australian. Nobody thought we were American.
Nobody thought you were
which
American.
was
Really is
better.
for the best. Yes. It's like
it was
our
for the best.
empire is in the process of falling. You really don't need to. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants
got
to.
we got Visigoths, but
Yes.
they're inside the house. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's really cool.
So we are lucky.
yeah.
We're very lucky, and it comes in handy, is my point.
Yeah. And I bet you she becomes more fluent every time you go.
Yeah, she gets out of practice, but she's pretty great. And because I do a stupid amount of research for wherever before we get to everywhere, I kind of know a lot about. I'm a huge nerd about that stuff. I'm like, I have to know the history of the place. I have to know. I will go say like, okay, I love I put maps up on the wall, and I'm like, okay, these are the 5 great places to go, and I always have a plan, which makes her but it makes her very annoyed. So like we basically, the plan is there if we decide to do it, and if we don't and say no, I wanted to go to the beach, that's fine, we just go to the beach.
Now, the last time Tess was on the Dork Forest, she talked about murder mysteries, and the Thursday Murder Club has a very interesting scene in it where Elizabeth, who is a retired MI6 person, she talked about how in every relationship, there's the person who plans.
Yeah.
And there's the person who wants to just go. And if the person who plans is smart, they never say, they're like, yes, let's just go. But they've got the plan. And they wander around Venice and they just happen upon the best, restaurant or this amazing church that's buried in the maze that is Venice.
Yes.
And but I like the honesty of your relationship. Don't get me wrong.
No.
Because
but I plan because I'm like, first of all, I'd like to see all these things, but I'm only half of the team here. So, if she wants to just go do that, then I'm fine doing that. And, we've been there enough so that there's less preciousness to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you go to a place like that a lot, you're not like, oh my God, if we don't see it now, we're never going to see it again. So if you kind of put that out of your head, you're just like, okay, great. Now I can just kind of have a nice experience.
You can do both.
Yeah.
And the thing is that kind of research is amazing. What were some of your favorite towns that you found stuff out about?
My favorite one, one of my favorite ones ones was the last trip was, and this is not a super deep cut. Like people, like when we went there, I'm like, oh, I see a lot of them. I see tattoos with English word. You know what I mean? Like they're Americans. But it is a far, and it's called Matera, and it's where the Passion of the Christ was shot. So it doubled as kind of
a Bethlehem kind of
faux Jerusalem. And it is one of the 3 oldest cities in the world. Aleppo, which is in Syria, I think. Matera, and then the other one is in Israel somewhere. It's a J, I'm forgetting. But so it's 12,000 years old. People have been living there for 12,000 years.
Wow.
And we got a tour guide because I'm like, and this was the one part of the trip where I'm like, I really want to go to Matera. I go, like, please just give me my 2 nights Matera, and then whatever else you want to do, we'll go to the beach. I'm not a beach person, but I'll do it for you. I go, but just give me 2 nights in like this nerdy place. And so we went, and it's pretty spectacular. Let me show you this. It's a pretty spectacular looking place because since people have been living there for 12,000 years, you can see the different levels. Like it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and on one side of it are caves, and people lived, and I'm not kidding about this, Jackie, people lived in those caves until the 1980s.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was what they call it in Italy. They called it, this is what it looks like. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So
that looks like an Indiana Jones episode.
Yeah. Have you seen the last James Bond movie?
No, I actually haven't. I wanted to, but I didn't get to see it.
The opening sequence is in Matera, and there's a big shootout.
Nope, too bright. Anyway, it's sort of near the boot.
Yeah, it's in the taint. Yeah.
Taint none of your concern where they are. Yes.
But so this is people live there for 12,000 years. They the different groups had gone through and over the Bourbons and the other who are the ones
right,
from
it's been
Africa.
overrun.
It's been overrun.
Yeah.
Italy was extremely, especially southern Italy, extremely conquered country. So, there's parts that are built up and parts that are extremely ancient. And so in 1980, it had, people stopped living there except for the people who were natives.
Right.
And they were living in caves. They're called sassi. And now the big thing is you can stay in a cave hotel. But they're not. But back then, it's literally no toilets, nothing. It was a freaking cave.
Right.
And they had an extreme, I'll build to that. But basically, it's like they were living in caves. And the government came in. They called it the Great Shame. And they built these towns and moved them to towns and gave them houses, right?
Oh, right, and because it felt embarrassing that people were still living in caves?
Well, yeah, they were living in squalor. The infant mortality rate was crazy. Women would have 20 kids.
Ouch. So that they could have 4, yes.
Yeah, so they could end up with 4, right. So they, but here's the crazy thing, Jackie. It's it was like a movie. They moved them out and a bunch of them went back.
Right. Because that's where they lived.
All they knew. And genetically, they tested them. They were Neolithic. They were
weird.
They were old,
they were almost
natural selection,
old humanoids,
old kind of humanoid. And so anyway, we get this guide, and this was a cheap guide. It's one of those Viator gigs, for $69 or something. And he takes us around, and it's the sadness tour. It's literally the sadness tour. It's about he would show, we went into a cave and he started talking about infant mortality, which is a, boner killer. I think we can all agree with, right? and he's like, and they would put the babies up on the shelf to keep them away from the animals that would come in. And people will ask me often, did the babies fall off the shelf? Yes.
Yes,
I mean, it was just when you thought he couldn't get sadder, he got sadder. It was amazing. So Tess lasted super long. I was super proud of her because I was literally okay, I get it. This is the sadness tour. So we left after about 75 minutes or something like that. But he gave us the whole history of the city and about the people that lived there and the social problems of assimilating them into modern society.
Sure. And
super
now
cool place. And the food was great, Jackie. It was picturesque. It was
and now it's a hotel
gorgeous.
with plumbing.
Now it's basically they took those things. It's become super gentrified now. Where the one cool thing,
which was another reason to move them,
right?
So that development could come in, I suppose.
But the government will only allow you to open a business in Matera if one of the partners is Matarese. Oh, so yes,
okay.
And they have to be it's like the Native American thing here with casinos and whatnot. They're indigenous people.
Yes, and Hawaii and all that.
Exactly.
So
yes. Now you can have a luxury experience and stay in a cave. But
when you had done the research, when you had done your own deep dive, could you ask? Did you have knowledge that he didn't let you in on, and did it bring you to places that you might not have gone to?
The history there is so deep that I could only scratch the surface of it. So I was kind of like a student when he was talking. I'm like, oh wow, that's insane, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, and the food was different. It was really good, and
how different? As you get down to Sicily, are we eating lasagnas and spaghettis?
No,
is it more?
No, Sicily is a lot of fish.
Okay,
it's a lot of fish, and there's some pasta and stuff, but it's a lot of fish. This part of the country,
that pasta's got to be Bologna, where you said that they invented 15 versions.
But everybody has their own pastas, So, if you go to Matera, they've got their kind of pasta, and they, when you go to like a pizza place and they have
Yeah.
the little thing of like crushed red pepper and you put that on the pizza. I always wondered where that came from because I never saw it in Rome. When you go to Rome, nobody's got that,
Right.
At least I haven't seen it. And
Right.
Matera, that's the place. They grow a bunch of crushed of red peppers. And so they do,
So
they have
it's on
spicy
everything.
stuff on. Yeah, it's on like pasta. Yeah. It was quite good. It was quite good. Yeah.
That's amazing. So now that I'm looking at the map down here, I have been to Brindisi, but only via train.
Oh,
and then
that's far south.
I took
really far.
Right, because I was taking a ferry to Athens.
Yeah. That's where they go.
In 89.
Go from.
Yeah, 88, 89. Yeah. And then here's my question. As I went in to look at Brindisi, did you go to Gallipoli?
We did not go
to Gallipoli?
Okay, we did not. If I went back there, which I might, because honestly, the beaches were so lovely and it still feels unspoiled, but it's gonna, Americans are starting to.
More people?
Yeah, more like.
But that's a Gulf. That looks like where that boot is, like Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the peninsula of Puglia, and Brindisi is on the Adriatic side. I believe it's the Adriatic. Is that the one? Oh no, sorry, it's probably the Mediterranean side, and that goes to. It's very easy to get to Croatia. Like if you want to go,
I think it's on the Adriatic side.
Oh,
nice
it is on
work.
the Adriatic. Okay, so then it's like two and a half hours on a boat to get to Croatia, and a little farther for Greece, or you go to Montenegro or something like that. And then on the other side is where Gallipoli is, and that we did not do Gallipoli. It's actually supposed to be. I read about it because I wanted to have it as an option because we stayed at the end. It's called Santa Maria de Leuca. Which is the last town before water. And then the other side is Gallipoli. And then Otranto is the other place we stayed, which is on the east side. So Gallipoli, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but like Gallipoli.
Of the trifecta, you stayed on two of the three.
I did that. I did 2 of the 3. And on the Gallipoli side, it is one of the most LGBTQ friendly places in Italy. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, they're probably.
Is it also Australian friendly? Because of Gallipoli?
That's hilarious. Yeah, Mel Gibson is huge there. But we did not go, but we thought about it. We passed it to go to that crazy beach I showed you with the thatched umbrellas.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's good. Then the food down there is like the food in Puglia is like orecchiette. It's the little ears.
Yeah.
Orecchiette pasta. It's like that, tomatoes, fish. The fish was excellent. I had sushi there. It was like insanely good. And then
do you think you eat more fish now? Did you always?
Well, my wife likes fish, so yeah, it's not my like default favorite thing, but I probably do eat it more. I love a frita misto, which is just lightly battered, like lightly fried seafood, like calamari and shrimp and stuff like that. I love that. That's a great summer dish.
I made cioppino once. It's the fish stew from.
Yes, it's like a bouillabaisse kind of.
Yeah, it's got all the different fishes and shellfish in it, and we had it in Venice.
Yep.
And you do a lot of Italian cooking, is what Tess said.
Yes.
What do you always make your own pasta? Do you ever make your own pasta?
No, we have. No. We have. It's a fun look. If you know how it is. I mean, you still work on weekends a lot, doing stand up, but like, when you stop doing that, you're like, it's dinner party. You're in the dinner party phase of your
industry.
Life. Yeah, exactly. You're in that dinner party phase of your life. So you have friends over, and if you see the same friends too often, you need activities. So I found that like making pasta is a really fun activity.
Yeah.
If you have people that are game, it's super fun.
Yeah, because do you have an attachment to a KitchenAid, or do you have a Rolly? We used to have the Rolly one.
Yep.
And I did it once, and I was like, well, this is a fair amount of work. I'm just going to buy. Yeah.
You know what the best, if you like fresh pasta in LA, you go to Italy, you get fresh pasta and it's not that expensive and it's going to kick your ass. It's going to be amazing.
And Tess turned me on to that weird European grocery store in the over by Game Dude.
In Burbank?
It's in
Monte
North
Carlo?
Hollywood. No, it's called
I know what you're talking about.
Epicurious?
Epicurious.
Yes, and it's on Sherman Way, and it's just in a weird office building structure.
Yeah, it's like by the Home Depot or something, right?
Yeah, it's right next to the old Game Dude. Sells you old used video games.
Yes,
still open. Can't believe it's still open.
Yeah.
Still selling vids. But she turned me on to that, and I often buy sort of fresh pasta there. It's dried, but she said she goes to Italy quite a fair amount.
We love it there. But I got to tell you about, it's interesting about the fresh pasta versus dried pasta. I worked on a show with Martha Stewart for 4 seasons, and we did a pasta episode, and we're like, okay, we're gonna make pasta. She goes, yeah. She goes, yes. I assume you want us to make pasta, and I said, what's with the attitude? And she goes, she goes, dry. I go, why? She goes, I use dried pasta all the time.
Yeah.
Dried pasta is great. She's like, dried pasta is great. So I think that's
as it's
Martha
good dried
Stewart.
pasta.
Yes, exactly.
There you go. And all right, well, fair enough to that. So what do you make if you're not making pasta?
For Italian stuff? I like, I love the, in Rome, there are the 5 pastas. It's cacio e pepe, arrabbiata, carbonara, gricia, and I'm forgetting the 5th one. So any of those I love doing.
So,
she's
and that's
to
the way of preparing?
Say what?
And that's preparation? That's not what the pasta looks like? That's
the
sauce?
The delivery. So like, carbonara. So carbonara is...
I don't actually know
pepe is the simplest. Say what?
Okay.
Oh,
I don't know what any of those are.
No, do you know you've never had you've had cacio
sure
e pepe, right? Cacio e pepe is like mac and cheese, except it's Parmesan. You know what I mean? It's a pasta, and you put Parmesan on it, and it's pepper. That's it. So it's all about the ingredients. Black pepper. Okay. That's it.
Andy's made that because he loves black pepper with the power of the sun. So he's made, but I don't think he's used Parmesan. I think he's used.
You use pecorino
Parmesan,
too.
Pecorino. Yeah, that's what he used.
You can use pecorino or Parmesan, depending on where you are, and that's the basic one. And it's actually hard to do right, because it's hard because you get kind of congealy. It's really hard to do.
It can get kind of thick.
And get kind of thick. So you have to be very careful with it. But that's when I go to Rome, people are like, what'd you get? I got the cacio e pepe. Of course I did. It's because it's like they make it, it's perfect. They make it perfectly. And then carbonara.
What makes it perfect? Is it the consistency?
I think
or the ratio.
It's just the right amount of light, but not too, like a carbonara is heavy. A carbonara will have egg in it, right?
Okay.
That's the big difference.
So pecorino and pepper, there's
an egg.
Anything, and there's an egg in that too?
No, in the cacio e pepe is just like pecorino or Parmesan or a mix.
And how do you make it? Do you make a pretty good one, or?
Yes, but it can go south. You really have to watch it. It's fast. So you cook the pasta,
right?
When you wanna, let's say it's 11 minutes for the pasta to be done. You want to take it out at like 10. Then you throw it in another pan. You throw in a little bit of the pasta water, and then you cook it for the other minute. But as you're doing that, you're putting on the cheese and the pepper and mixing it up so that it gets evenly starchy. It gets kind of a starchy thing to it, but it can get the cheese can get kind of clumpy. So you have to be. It's not straightforward. But carbonara is that, but with the with egg, and then arrabbiata is just you put the egg on at the end, and it basically cooks up, and so that's a little creamier and heavier.
Okay,
but it's delicious. Okay. And then the arrabbiata is a spicy what do you call it? Tomato sauce. And I love a good tomato sauce. I just love it. Terrific. I love tomato sauce.
What's the spice? Like red pepper flakes, or is it just red pepper?
Probably a little bit of that.
Cayenne?
Probably a touch of that.
A mix.
Salt and black pepper and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then some sort of
garlic.
That'll just a little bit of fire. Oh, that one has garlic in it.
Garlic.
Okay.
And then in Italy, it's not like Olive Garden or New York red Italian food places you go and it's just the sauce is everywhere. There, it's kind of like it's even the red stuff, it's tossed in the sauce, and then they just throw a leaf of basil on it or something. You know what I mean? But it's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful. And they pick the kind of pasta that's kind of porous so that the sauce gets in there.
And what's porous pasta? So is it just that it has a bigger surface area as opposed to spaghetti,
that's a
which
great
is
question.
Yeah.
Well, spaghetti is thinner generally in
so it doesn't have a lot of surface. Yeah.
Not as much. In Rome, they'll do something like bucatini is the pasta. It's a thicker spaghetti.
But also a circle? Okay. Yeah.
It's like spaghetti, except imagine it's thicker.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it's got more surface area, and that's what I mean by porous. Like it just soaks up stuff a little bit more. It's good. And then gricia is arrabbiata. I think also has. Sorry, I'm forgetting one thing.
Yeah,
I think gricia has. It's not. Is it pancetta? What's the other pork thing?
Prosciutto.
I think it's pancetta, and it's cut up. And they, kind of flash fry it. And when you get them, it's like a very salty little thing. And when you pop it in your mouth, when you bite down on it, it kind of squirts fat.
Wow.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And then you mix that up with there's two versions. There's the light version, which is just the pecorino romano and the pasta. And then there's the red version. And I believe that's arrabbiata. It's got the I could be wrong. Somebody will.
Tomato.
There's a nerd watcher.
Jackie at JackieCation.com. Feel free to correct.
Yeah, feel free to correct.
What you should know is that he loves it. He loves all the pastas.
I love it.
He's on board.
I love it. I like a good. I do think I like the way Italians cook steak, but I think American beef tastes better, and that's probably doesn't mean it's good. It's probably chemicals.
Just because something you've been raised with.
Yes.
So how's the chicken situation?
The chicken's
I love a chicken. Yeah.
Oh, and what's really good are the eggs. I feel like the eggs are fresher. You go to a supermarket here, the eggs are old, Jackie.
Yeah, they're old.
They're old. Yep. And you get one fresh
that's why
from the
people
farm.
have. Yeah, that's why you got. There's a rooster in this neighborhood, and every time I walk by it, I'm like, rooster in my neighborhood. Sure wish I knew them, and I could get a couple of free eggs.
Yeah, Karen Anderson has chickens. I don't know if you know Karen Anderson. She's a writer.
I do know Karen Anderson.
She's got chickens. She gives away eggs. You got to talk to her.
Karen
You'll have to
Anderson.
go to Glendale.
Yeah, got to go to. I know who I'm thinking of. Sue.
You thinking of Sue Murphy?
I'm thinking of Sue Murphy. Karen Anderson, much more approachable. I love Sue Murphy, but Sue Murphy, literally. She was on this show, The Dork Forest. So the Sue Murphy episode. Rangers, look back in time. Find a Sue Murphy episode where she talked about drunkenly trimming trees. That was her hobby at the time. She'd be driving back from her writing gig. This has got to be 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And she couldn't handle it that people had not trimmed their trees correctly. So she would take the sappers off of people's trees at night. And I was like, is that legal? And she's like, not a chance. Not a chance. It's legal. Going into people's yards.
I worked for Sue. She was a boss. She was one of my bosses a few years ago. Yeah, she's a character.
Right. She also famously told me she never watched her own stand-up or her own half-hour comedy special because she just couldn't face it. She's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And whatever. If they liked it, we all win. And so I'm glad that Sue Murphy's still out there.
Yep.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. Karen Anderson, super approachable.
Yes.
Love Karen Anderson.
Yes, you need to ask her for eggs, and she'll probably hook you up.
Right.
Or you should Dork Forest her about her chickens.
Yeah, I actually attainable goal. I have a quite a long list, but I want everyone to be on. Now, talk to me about So, what is your favorite chicken recipe done by the Italians?
Well,
You have such a thing?
In Rome, they do cacciatore, which the American version I'm not a huge fan of.
No, my stepmother made it.
Yeah,
It's a little soupy.
It's soupy and it's like I don't know. It's not done right. But there's one place in Rome that we went to, forgetting the name. I'll leave it for the show notes. Was where we go every time we go to Rome. We go and get. We go there because their cacciatore is really good, and it's more vinegar based, so it's tangier.
Okay, yeah,
it's tangier. It's cooked perfectly, and it's generally. It's generally white meat.
Okay.
But it's very good.
Were you about to tell me that Tess Rafferty is allergic to tomatoes?
Yes.
Oh, that's devastating. My
I
tomatoes are just coming ripe in my garden right now.
That's great.
I got about 40 tomatoes it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so all I do is eat tomato sandwiches for about a month. and that is all I do with them because I fucking love a tomato sandwich.
No, it's great.
Because it tastes like a real tomato.
Do you get? I bet. Do you do it with mozzarella? You got to get a big cube of mozzarella.
Sometimes we do.
Caprese salad.
We do a caprese because we also have basil in the backyard. We got basil. Ooh. We got tomatoes. We could do a nice caprese. So
that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Is she deathly allergic or is it just a bad reaction? Okay.
Yeah. It's whatever. Because my sister between the two.
Right. She doesn't she can't really do tomatoes or eggplant or any of the nightshades.
Yep.
She gets a bad reaction. And so I made, because we just finished, we had a bunch of summer squash, patty pans and yellow crooknecks. And so I made what I called squash-a-magoosh, which is baba ganoush, but made with summer squash instead of eggplant. And it's just the same, tahini, garlic, and lemon. And blender, and then and you don't even you bake it to soften it, but you don't have to. You can even eat the skins because it's patty pan and summer squash.
I feel like that eggplant parm. You see it, but I feel like it's more of a southern thing in Italy. But I like a good eggplant parm.
I love a good a seafood stew. That's stuff I had.
Like cioppino, yeah.
Like cioppino, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And those are great. I mean, that's the thing in Venice. Venice is that's like a classic Venetian. Right. But do you like risotto? Seafood risotto in Venice is off the chain.
Oh, really? Because Andy's favorite thing is risotto. One of his favorite things is risotto, and I don't think we had risotto.
If you go back, there's a place we went. One of the easiest ways to research a great trip to Italy is just watch the Bourdain episode of wherever you want to go, because he usually has some. That's where we went for the Vietnamese banh mi. Oh,
we
really?
went to the Bourdain one. The guy just looked up. Yeah, he was like, fine. And then he looked up the Bourdain banh mi, and in Hanoi or wherever we were, I think it was Hoi An, and Andy came because I didn't go. That was one of the days I just slept, and he brought me a sandwich back, and he said, "Yeah, there was a big picture of Anthony Bourdain."
I went in Venice. Venice, it's very easy to get a bad meal in Venice. I think Venice is, in my opinion, I've had a number of bad meals in Venice. Because I think I've been there twice. The second time we went, I made reservations because I'm like, I don't want to mess around. I want to have a flawless, wonderful. Because it's the most fun city to get lost in. It is you don't drink, but it's also one of the best bar hopping cities I've ever been to because they have all those little cafes that everywhere you turn, there's a little cafe and they got the little cicchetti, the food. And you can have a little glass of wine, and then you go on to the next one. And I remember one time with Tess, we were sitting in a little cocktail bar that was not far from the canal. Okay. And every 25 minutes or so, 3 or 4 gondoliers would come in, and they'd go by the bar and they'd all get shots and they'd sing something and throw back a shot. And then they'd go back, and do this. And the same, we were there for about an hour and a half. It was the same 3 guys. They would come back and really don't think you want to. The gondoliers are drunk, Jackie, is what I want to tell you.
We eventually went on a gondolier thing just because you're in Venice.
Have to.
And so I went, and it was boring, Chris.
Oh, really?
It was not, it was fine.
Yeah.
But and it was our honeymoon, so it was delightful. But it's sort of like, there's several things that I've done because they're supposedly super fun. Like we rented a jet ski once.
And that was not fun?
That was whatever it was. Okay. There it was. And it was, you know what it was? It felt like a job. And then just the other week, we went to Balboa Park here in Los Angeles where they have the pedal swan boats.
I have not done that.
And we pedaled it was $12 to work out for an hour. And it was also fine, but we could have. I once swam with whales. You would think that I would be whale sharks. You would think that and I didn't like it. So I might be a bit of a buzzkill when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I do.
Well, it's okay. I mean, Tess didn't want to go on the gondola either, by the way. And so I just, I talked to the hotel. We stayed at a room. It was our honeymoon too. And we were staying at it wasn't. We told them it was our honeymoon. We got a better room.
Hilarious.
Yeah, we got a room upgrade that way. But it was a nice hotel. It was right on the Grand Canal. And I said, I want to surprise my wife with the gondola ride. Do you have any recommendations? They go, yes, we have the best gondoliers of all. So whatever, I paid a little extra for this guy. It was great. We had a good time. She loved it. She's like, I can't believe we're doing this. And then we had fun. It was fine. It was romantic.
It was nice. We took a picture. I'm pretty sure we took a picture. We might have forgotten to take a picture. But but it was what we did. We ended up eating amazing food. Actually the first night was not good because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so we got some of this weird prefix thing.
Yep.
And it came with like a before dinner and an after dinner aperitif and like wine. And we're like, no, we just kind of wanted to eat dinner. And then, so the rest of the trip was, and I told Andy, I was like, I will do, and this is how we travel. I'm willing, because he likes to go to a thing, right? And I like to go to a thing, but I'd also like to sit around. Mm-hmm. So my thing is we have whatever continental breakfast or we get a breakfast. I'm willing to get up early, 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Breakfast. Okay. By 8 a.m., I could either go to a church or a museum.
Yep.
A nice lunch, a real nice lunch.
That's the most important meal.
Yes. And then a church or a museum. I'll do 2 things a day, right?
Yep.
At 3 p.m., I would like to sit down and have a cup of coffee and maybe a pastry.
That's we do the same thing, Jackie. It's basically the same. We get up a little later than you, but we do 2 things a day. And and then a nap.
There's a nap right around 7, a nice dinner.
Yep.
7 or 8. 10 p.m., hit the sack. Maybe a little sex.
You don't need it.
Maybe we have a little married sex. And then we get up, we do it again.
Yeah.
And
it's nice.
So,
it sounds great. I tell everybody, I'm like, we've traveled with a few people and I'm like, look, there's only one thing you need to know
and
about me.
This is your final thing to say. Please
This will be my final thing is I'm like, the good restaurants close at 2 p.m., right? After that, you're just getting pizza. So we are going to we're planning our entire day around lunch and we're going to park our ass at the place we're going to. And I want to know where we're going or the area. And we need to be there no later than 1:30. And then, and if we can do that, we'll all get along.
Yeah.
But then people go like, oh, surely it will be fine if we're rolling at 2:30. I'm like, no. I've done this enough times. I'm an expert.
They also wish to have a lie down.
Yes.
And because there's a very vibrant late night thing happening in many cities, like Saigon. Things 11 o'clock, the world opened up, and you're like, I don't care.
Right.
I am willing to go to your late night market at 9:30. How about that? And then I'm done. But Chris McGuire, you guys, it's Chris 8675309 on Instagram.
On
you
IG.
Have a Substack.
I do.
And you also are going to start a podcast for that Substack.
Yes, my podcast is letstalkfunny.substack.com. And it's mainly storytelling and humor, tips for people. I work with some public speakers and They love all things humor and storytelling. So I kind of write to them every week, but I have other non-speaker friends and comedians that like it, and they go, "Oh, this is actually useful information. You reminded me about something I forgot."
So let's talk funny.substack.com.
Yep.
Do that, and then the Instagram will all be in the notes. Thank you, Chris McGuire, for doing this show. This is awesome. I had a lovely time.
I had so much fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
Hi, Adal. How was the show?
It was good. It's so maddening that you wait like an extra 2 beats. And then I'm just like, talk amongst yourselves. It's almost like you're not in show business and you don't know that it means now.
Or maybe I have recorded a lot of dialogue in recording booths, and you don't want to jump the gun because it can get cut off.
Okay. Oh, to keep it clean.
Yep.
Patrick Brady, Andy Ashcraft is thinking of you.
Yes.
Welcome.
And also the gag.
It's the gag that drives me. It's the gag that sends me over the edge. I did an episode of the Dork Forest today, Andy.
How was it?
Well, it was with Chris McGuire, and it was delightful.
Good.
It was essentially he and his lovely wife, who have been on the program as well, Tess Rafferty.
Uh-huh.
They go to Italy. They save up. They go to Italy.
Nice.
3 years later, they save up. They go to Italy. Like, that's what they do. They don't go anywhere else, to my knowledge.
Just Italy. They just really like Italy, so they go to Italy.
Go to different parts of Italy.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, there's probably lots of different parts of Italy that we don't really know much about.
No, or anyone, except for probably not even the Italians. If
Right.
you were to ask me,
it's a whole country.
It's a whole country. They got different regions. And Chris McGuire, what he does is they've gone he said probably a dozen times in the last 20 years that they've been together.
Right.
And
that's amazing.
Yes. And they usually rent a car and then
drive like maniacs, because that's what everybody.
No, it's okay. He said it's better than Ireland. And I told him that you drove in Ireland.
I did.
And it was scary.
Right.
And
the only thing I know about driving around in like Rome is, of course, Night on Earth.
Right. And he does not recommend driving in the city. He said, stay outside of the city, go to smaller towns and villages. You're going to Rome. You're going to stay in Rome. Don't get a car.
You are
correct. You are correct. Yes. And so
take
lots of
crazy taxi drivers.
Right. And Bologna, this is what I've learned. Bologna, best food in Italy.
Well, especially if you like Bologna sandwiches.
Mortadella. And but I kind of want us to go just because they've got processed meat.
I'd be willing to go for sure.
And he said, you have to like pork because it's a lot of pork. And I said, oh, well, that's why he should go there. Andy Ashcraft. You do. You enjoy.
Do you?
Andy
Take
Ashcraft.
this pork as your
favorite meat. You do.
I do.
So it's a great episode. I had a really lovely time talking to him and just listening to him. And he's just Chris McGuire. Good person. Good
That's
egg.
awesome. Yay.
And I like him. So I hope you had fun, everybody. And Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?